My name is Emberlynn. For years, I carried a quiet fear of Mondays. Not because I dreaded waking early, not because I was lazy, but because every Monday I watched my husband, Caleb, leave for work with tired eyes and an empty smile. Monday was the day that reminded me our life was held together by thin strings, that each week began with him walking into a place that drained him. I would stand by the doorway, packing his lunch, brushing my hand against his, pressing my lips to his skin as if that kiss could protect him from what waited outside. Then I would watch him walk down the street, his shoulders already heavy, and pray silently, "Please, let nothing go wrong again." Caleb worked for a large supply company in Los Angeles. On paper, it sounded stable, respectable even. But the truth was, it was a cold place. No one there seemed to smile. No one seemed to care. He rarely spoke about his job when he came home, but he didn't need to. His face, his silence, the slump in his shoulders told me enough. Caleb was not lazy. He was not weak. He worked harder than anyone I had ever known. But no matter how hard he tried, nothing seemed to change. We lived on just enough for bills, for food, for gas. Never more. There were no extras, no family dinners at restaurants, no new shoes for the kids, no surprise treats. Sometimes, while cleaning, I would find loose coins buried at the bottom of an old bag or tucked into a drawer, and I would hold them in my hand like treasure. Life was tight, but we stayed quiet about it. He bore his silence at work. I bore mine at home. I stayed with the children, keeping our little house as warm with love as I could. I cooked, I cleaned, I patched clothes, I made sure the kids laughed even when the cupboards were sparse. But each time I saw Caleb return late at night, dragging his feet across the floor, his shoes worn thin with small holes, my heart cracked a little more. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to lift the burden from his back. But I didn't know how. Until one day, everything broke all at once. Every morning, Caleb rose before dawn. He dressed in the quiet dark so as not to wake the kids, then took the train across the city. He always sat near the window, gazing out as buildings blurred past, though his thoughts were far heavier than the passing scenery. He never told me the details, but I knew the truth, his days were filled with disrespect. His boss berated him, shouted at him during meetings, humiliated him with words like, "You're too slow. Don't mess up." Not once did anyone tell him, "Good job," or "Thank you." Instead, some coworkers laughed when the boss barked at him. Caleb endured it in silence because he needed the job. We needed the money. He ate lunch alone at his desk, a simple sandwich, water, silence. No friends, no chatter. Just him and the clock. When the workday finally ended, he returned home, sometimes late, his body sore, his shoes damp with sweat, his back aching. Still, he said nothing. He wanted to be strong for us. I would make him tea, hold his hand, whisper to him, "You are doing your best." He would smile faintly, as if those words gave him just enough strength to make it through another day. He would answer softly, "I hope so." Then came the day that everything changed. Caleb made a mistake at work. Just one number entered wrong into a file. A small error, easily fixed. But his boss didn't care. He called Caleb into his office, his voice sharp, his face red. And this time, it was different. No second chances. No warning. Just a harsh, final sentence, "You're fired." Caleb picked up his bag and left. No one offered a kind word. No one said goodbye. He walked out into the rain, without an umbrella, his jacket too thin to guard against the cold. His shoes filled with water as he made his way to the train, the city roaring around him. That day, he lost not only his job but the last piece of dignity that cruel office had left him. I remember that moment vividly. I was standing at the sink, washing dishes, when I heard the front door open. I turned, saw his face, and I knew. He looked broken. His shoulders slumped, his eyes dull, his silence louder than any words. He lowered himself onto the couch as though his body could no longer hold him up. The kids were asleep. The house was hushed. Only the thundering of our hearts seemed alive. He told me everything, every word, every insult, every detail of that day. I listened. I didn't cry, though my chest burned. I didn't panic, though the fear of what tomorrow held threatened to crush me. I took his hand in mine and said the only thing I could, "We'll be okay." He shook his head. I failed. I held his gaze. "No, Caleb. They failed to see you." He looked at me then, really looked. I smiled through my own worry, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "Now it's our time." That night, we didn't sleep. We sat at the kitchen table with the soft light glowing above us. I brewed tea, the steam curling into the silence. He sipped slowly, and together we spoke of dreams, wild, fragile dreams that felt too big for the tiny house we sat in, too daring for a family with nothing left in savings. We had no plan, no money, but we had ideas. And we had each other. Caleb knew the supply world. He knew delivery drivers, traffic patterns, how goods moved across the city. I looked at him and said, "Maybe we can start something small." He shook his head, his voice low. "But we need money." I stood, went to the closet, and pulled out a small wooden box I had kept hidden for years. Inside were my treasures, a silver necklace from my youth, my grandmother's bracelet, a few gold rings from my mother. I placed them gently on the table. "Sell them," I said. "Start the business." His eyes widened. "But these are special." I reached across, held his hand, and smiled. "So are you. And I believe in you." Shame flickered across his face, but I pressed his hand tighter. "This is our chance." The next morning, Caleb went to a shop and sold the jewelry. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough to buy a small used laptop, to print simple business cards, to open a phone line, to rent a small desk in a shared office downtown. He chose the name, Fast Track Couriers. For the first time in days, I saw him smile. "We'll move things fast and on track," he said. I answered, "And we'll move our life forward too." The office was tiny, just one desk, one chair, one window. The table wobbled when he typed. But it was ours. A beginning. Caleb called old contacts, sent dozens of emails, waited by the phone. Most people never replied. Some had forgotten his name. But one man remembered. He gave Caleb a small job, delivering a few boxes across the city. Caleb borrowed a friend's car, packed the order himself, and made the delivery with care. The client was pleased. The next day, that same client told another, and another. Soon, we had 3 small orders a week. I helped however I could. I answered phone calls, kept lists, sent thank you notes, packed snacks for Caleb before he left for deliveries. Some days the phone stayed silent. No orders, just waiting. I would find Caleb sitting in the chair, staring at the wall. I'd place a cup of coffee in front of him, kiss his cheek, and whisper, "Keep going." That became my daily line, soft words, strong words. And each time, he moved again. Week by week, job by job, things grew. We saved every dollar. We bought a better chair. We printed sturdier cards. Caleb smiled more. The kids had shoes without holes. The plates on the table held more food. One night, while counting coins after dinner, Caleb looked at me and said, "Look how far we came." His eyes glistened. I nodded, my own eyes wet. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel only tired. I felt proud. We weren't rich. Not yet. But we were stronger. We had hope. And this was only the beginning. The name Fast Track Couriers began to spread slowly, quietly. One happy client told a friend, who told another. We weren't famous. We weren't fast like the giant companies. But we were careful. We were honest. We called people back. We said thank you and sorry. We showed up. And that mattered. Caleb drove through Los Angeles in an old car with a broken air conditioner and a stuck seatbelt. Sometimes, the car wouldn't start. Still, he never complained. He just kept going. I answered the phone at home, scribbled notes, and helped with invoices. At night, we sat together in the warehouse or at the kitchen table, checking every order twice. Some weeks were painfully slow. No calls, no deliveries, just silence. Caleb would sit with his hands flat on the table, eyes empty. I couldn't fix it, but I could sit with him. I would take his hand and say softly, "Let's wait one more day." And often, one more day was all it took. Then, one day, a large company called. They needed urgent help with same-day deliveries. It wasn't permanent, just a few weeks, but they said, "We heard you're reliable." My heart pounded. Caleb wasn't home. I took the call, said yes, and wrote down every detail. When Caleb walked through the door that evening, I rushed to him with the paper in my hand. He stared at it silently, then smiled, a full, real smile. We worked all night to prepare. Cleaned the car. Packed the bags. Made lists and maps. It was exhausting, but we did it. And we succeeded. The company told us, "You saved us this week." They paid on time, too. That money repaired the car, bought new boxes, allowed us to breathe. And from that work came more work, steady work. We rented a small warehouse. Gray walls, no windows, but space. Enough to grow. We bought a desk, a shelf for files, a fridge, a kettle. It became our second home. We hired our first helper, Joel. He was young, quiet, but kind. He stayed late, eager to learn. One evening, I saw him sweeping the floor, humming a tune. I asked, "Are you okay?" He smiled, "Yeah, I like it here." Warmth spread through me.